You're on the road. I'm Todd Duplantis. Good to have you with us on the show tonight. We are coming to you from the HCC TV studios. Good to have you with us. Missed last week. Believe me, I know Doug O'Brien, my co-host, who's out on assignment this week. He shared some interesting stuff next week when he joins us. He had mentioned that he got COVID last week, woke up on Monday. COVID is still alive and well, folks. Things we're going to be dealing with. Made me very ill, lasted for about 24 hours, and then just kind of ran through my system. So at least it went away quickly. But man, while it was around, it was pretty bad. So be careful as you're out there during this winter, or I should say fall season. We've got a great show lined up for you. We've got a number of videos we're going to be playing. We've been doing that a lot lately, panning or combing the internet, coming up with some cool videos. My co-host is out this week, but we're joined by a very special guest, a frequent guest to the show. Derrel Sims joins us, the alien hunter. Derrel, always good to see you.
Oh, I'm proud to be here on the road beyond.
We last time we spoke, I think you were getting ready for a cruise that you were able to speak on and had a number of guests. How did that go?
It was a wonderful cruise, about 5,000 people on the whole ship, and about 150 of them were just there for the UFO conference. We developed some of the best cases we ever saw for physical evidence on that cruise.
You had a number of guests. I imagine, though, because you were just at a convention last week, and you mentioned as well in Colorado. I imagine a lot of these guests you see out there on the road, you come in contact quite frequently.
I do. I see them fairly often. In fact, that's how most people choose me to do their investigations, simply because they've already seen me enough and they've heard me enough, and they, at some point, trust me and say, you're the guy. You're
definitely the guy. You know, we've been, over the past few weeks, you've seen the new format of the show, but we've been bringing a lot of new videos to show our viewers, mainly because it seems to me, and we kind of talked about this before the show started, we're seeing a lot more paranormal, but specifically UFO and Bigfoot videos out there on the internet. Now, I don't know if AI is involved, but what's happening here? Are you noticing a lot of chatter on that as well?
I am noticing a great deal more chatter. In fact, one of the last shows that you did with the aliens that were in the Las Vegas area, yeah. I did a background on that and talked to some of the actual police officers and some of the actual forensic people involved, and the case was absolutely 100% real.
We've seen some of the most convincing video that I've seen over the past year involve that particular case. Now, if you're familiar with it, this is the Las Vegas alien sighting. Now, happened about a year ago in Las Vegas. There was a reported UFO sighting over a neighborhood, and then these kids, I should say kids, they're teenagers, called police, documented a report saying they were large humanoid type creatures walking around in their backyard. Police arrived on the scene. They all saw something. There was some peculiar video, though, and I don't know if you've seen that, Derrel, where looks like something walking by on the other side of a fence. And as the alleged alien or being walks into the camera, you see it start getting blurry, almost as if they were like using a cloaking technique for the camera itself. But the people on the ground, who I imagine you spoke with, they saw something that night.
There's no question about it. The police forensic expert and an individual forensic expert, I've spoke to both of them, and they absolutely agree that whatever the large entities are there, they're real.
Yeah, it's a case that just doesn't seem to be going away. A few weeks ago, or last time we had the show, we showed some alleged video of one of the aliens as well in clear view. Did you see that as well?
I did not see that one.
Okay. That one's in, I believe, our last show. But anyway, we've got some things we want to take a look at tonight. For this first segment, we've got Dogman and Bigfoot. Let's get with it. This first video was actually sent in by Doug O'Brien, my co-host, who sent this to me. And if you take a look at the picture here, you're going to see something standing up in the distance. Not sure, this could be an alleged Bigfoot, but also some chatter I heard, Derrel, was this could also be the infamous Dogman. What's your take?
Well, the fact is that we have a case of a Dogman with several eyewitnesses that happened years ago. And one of them, the primary witness in that particular case is a sheriff in Oklahoma. So I know the stuff is real, but some of the stuff you see on the internet is who knows what it is.
Exactly. And then we're going to take another one that we picked off the internet. This is an alleged Bigfoot walking. We'll take a look at this video here. Interesting enough. Let's see if we can see this. There it is. There we go. In the distance, you'll see something in the tree line, possibly somebody in a suit. I don't know, Derrel. That looks almost too good to be true. What do you think?
It does look too good to be true, and that's the way I have to think about a lot of this. And again, I'm not the forensic expert in photography, so I always relegate that to those that are more proficient than I, certainly.
Is there a market out there, I guess, with the age of the internet, for people to actually put on a gorilla suit and will start walking around in the woods to get their friends to video record them for clicks and views?
That's entirely possible. I have a film footage from a friend of mine in the oil patch out in Texas, and it shows a Bigfoot about 7.5 feet tall, clear as day, on the road, literally. And I looked at it, and I've had a number of people look at it, and I've finally got this forensic expert wanting to look at it as well. When he verifies it, I'll go ahead and say the same thing. And if I get permission, I'll certainly let you guys see it. But if it's a guy in a ghillie suit, he's going to die out there because it's about 115 degrees. With normal, I was in a t-shirt and my phone stopped. It was so hot.
Yeah, you got to wonder what's the motive behind it. This next video we're going to show, I just saw this, and this is another one, I think, from the category of too good to be true. I don't know, you take a look at it here, but this is a alleged Bigfoot in captivity. Now, as the camera gets closer, you're going to get a clearer shot of the Bigfoot. There you go. I mean, almost too clear in some ways, and you have to wonder the motivation behind this. But this one, what is your take here, Derrel?
Well, first of all, I'm wondering who set up a cage and got Bigfoot to come inside of it.
Yeah,
where did that cage happen? Cost you $100,000 to set up, and the whole thing looks staged to me. It does.
Yeah. Another one we're going to show you right here. Bigfoot laying down. Take a look at this one. Once again, somebody had their video camera out at the right time, and you'll see a Bigfoot right there, or a person in a ghillie suit just laying down right now. Some of these you wonder. I imagine you could be terrified, but wouldn't you think the person's going to try to get a little closer for a better picture? I mean, I know I would if I'm getting video of a Bigfoot.
Well, Todd, if something like that happened and I saw it at a distance, and generally these things go away, run away, or whatever, the first thing I would do would go to the exact location and get hair and DNA samples. There are scientists out there that'll be glad to look at it for free if you could do that.
If you could produce it for them. But I guess in defense of the normal people, not the people who are investigators like us or media savvy, you see something like that, you take video, you may be terrified. I don't know if I want to meet one of them up close. They could pull your arms off. Who knows what could happen? One thing I'm surprised we haven't seen a lot more of, Derrel, is trail cam video. That's starting to make its rounds on the internet, and this next video right here was allegedly shot on a trail cam. And if you look, you're going to see something walking in the tree line there, right about there.
I like trail cam footage because it's more realistic, I guess, is the way to put it. But it's more fun to look at. But
can we take that video once again? I want to see there. It looks like we might get a better picture, a closer picture of the alleged creature, and you can see it right there. Yeah, interesting stuff.
It is.
You never know, though. I mean, as we mentioned, more people have cell phones on them. Even if you're hiking, more than likely you may not have cell coverage, but you could at least take some video. We hear about Bigfoot. But what about the Yeti? The Yeti doesn't get much love. Could it be the fact that the Yeti only appears in cold locations, unpopulated locations? Who knows? But every now and then, you get some Yeti video. So we got some Yeti video. I shouldn't say Derrel, Doug O'Brien sent this to me. This one, once again, this one's crazy. And no, I'm not buying this one at all.
What's he doing frozen under the ice? And that guy knows exactly where to dig the ice out of the way so you can see the face.
Yeah.
It's just too weird.
I've also heard as well something, people are like, why hasn't anybody shot a Bigfoot? I've heard some interviews with hunters who said they've had Bigfoot in their sights, but it's turned around, they've seen its face, and they're like, I'm not going to commit homicide right here.
Yeah, I've got a number of friends. In fact, I went squatching this last week up in Colorado, and with a friend of mine who's a Bigfoot hunter, and they don't believe in touching them or harming them or anything like that. So, but he did the howling and knocking on the trees and all of that. We never saw anything, but it was at least fun to get out and hang out with them.
Well, if you do get some video, and if you get that video of that Oklahoma beast, we'd certainly like to see that. Okay, Derrel, stick around. We're going to take a short commercial break. When we come back, the whole next segment, UFOs and aliens. We're going to see videos. We're going to talk about them. All that coming up on the Road Beyond podcast. We'll be right back.
When the last bell rings, don't stress about what comes next. At Houston Community College, we make your lessons matter. From healthcare to tech, or business to the arts. Open the door to HCC Real World Education, where passions become careers. Find more at hccs.edu and let your success take flight.
How you doing?
Hey, Mason.
Hey, Mason.
Thank you.
A place to make my own. A place that I call home. This place that I call home.
Welcome back on the Road Beyond podcast. Todd Duplantis here, coming to you from the HCC TV studios. Joining me tonight, Derrel Sims, the alien hunter, joins us once again, constantly on our show, and we appreciate you being here with us tonight. Derrel, your forte is aliens and, of course, UFOs. I'm going to ask you this because I think you and I talked about this years ago when we first met, but you actually have some very interesting UFO pictures. I know you've shown me a few, and you have some in your own collection as well, right?
I do for a fact, and some of them are back as early as 1980s. One of them taken by an elderly gentleman up in Dallas, Texas, of the clearest picture of UFO I've ever seen, and I actually have his negative. So I know it wasn't fake or fraudulent
right
at that point.
The UFOs that I think I've seen that you've shown me and others, that we see the saucer-shaped disc in a lot of ways. Now we're seeing these things that look like little BBs or orbs. And we have the first two videos we're going to show have those in them. And let's take a look at this first one, because this one's pretty clear. And this is I believe, a jet pilot that took this, but you can see these orbs. What's going on with this? I mean, this doesn't seem like it's new now, because we've got a lot of video of it, but you don't necessarily hear about these orbs.
This is a really excellent film, and the reason I like it is because pilots are some of the best observers.
Yeah.
A Japanese pilot reported a massive UFO and filmed it and drew pictures of it and everything else, and was grounded for 2 years after he reported it.
And here's another one, another video that a pilot had taken. There's been a lot of this in the news about these weird, and you almost want to call them entities, because some of these videos, the craft actually changes shape and defies gravity and laws of physics at incredible speeds. And no one seems to know how they can control them, or even if they could fight them if they had to.
That's really true. And the few people who have made the mistake of trying to fight some of this stuff ended up with brain lesions, according to Dr. Gary Nolan at Stanford University.
A lot of video on the internet these days of planes that are trailing these UFOs across from where they're doing. And maybe it was 10 years ago, if you were posting stuff like this, you were branded as a weirdo, and, people didn't want to have anything to do with you. Now, it's commonplace to log on to X, formerly known as Twitter, or Facebook, or Instagram Reels, especially TikTok, and see these videos, Derrel.
That's absolutely true. And I've met a number of the captains on airlines from several major airlines, and I even flew on El Al airline and was taken into the cockpit and had dinner with the captain, the co-pilot, and the engineer, and asked them about their sightings. And of course, they denied ever seeing anything. But the fact is that pilots do see these things from time to time, and they have no explanation, and they're not going to turn it in 90% of the time.
Well, it's now documented, and it's being, they've had two congressional hearings on it in the last few weeks. Have you heard, I heard there's information that Congress had set to be released on November the 8th, which is really just a few days away after the election. Have you heard anything about that?
I have, and in fact, I'll be in Dallas, Texas, around the 20th, and I'll be at Lou Elizondo's presentation. He's going to be doing a presentation there. He, through a friend of both of ours, sent me some free tickets to go, and I want to evaluate that, and I'll be asking him a lot of insider questions that I'll be able to relay to you at a later time.
He's been on the news a lot lately, especially in the past couple of months. I know he released a picture, and I'm not sure you'd sent it to me as well, of an alleged mothership. And you can Google this if it's out there on the internet. Lou Elizondo, a mothership UFO. Were you buying that picture when you saw it?
I wasn't. When I first saw it, I showed it, and I sent it out to people, and I said, this has been reported, and Lou is standing in the photo and everything. But I wrote some friends of mine, and I told my friends, I said, you need to talk to Lou and have him debunk this thing, because a number of people already have. And it's entirely possible that somebody photoshopped his image and the UFO and put it together to make it look like he presented that.
Wow. Yeah. Anything to get those clicks, I guess, these days. Yes. This next picture, I saw this. Now, this is an alleged alien that was photographed on September 22nd, 2004, 10:45 p.m. with a Kodak DX4530 camera. The photo was taken by a security guard in an abandoned office in Riones, Nuevo Leon, Mexico. Incredible picture here. What's your take on this, Derrel? I mean, this looks pretty good.
Well, having been an abductee myself and seen these entities up close, unless they've changed the models very often, the entity that I saw was quite skinny. This one appears to be too well built. Could it be a dummy? That would be my first thought. It might be something like that. I don't know. You simply don't know. But from the entities I saw back then were quite thin, and the head was different shape and very bulbous, of course. But the entity was very, very skinny.
Are you also from the theory, or the theory that there's not just one type of entities, there are several alien species that could be among us or still out there?
There are a number of different entities, like the little gray alien type that you saw here as an illustration. There are at least 3 different kinds that we know about, based on and I do have some photography of some that are actually real. But my point is that anything that comes out of Mexico or South America, I'm generally pretty skeptical of, because a lot of fake stuff comes out there sometimes every 2 or 3 years. It's the same stuff.
Right. This next video, another one, close-up UFO, too good to be true. Let's take a look and give us your opinion on this. I say too good to be true on this one. This looks like a total special effects.
I agree with you 100%.
And is this the one that goes into the portal? I think it might be. There was one of them, we had video of it going into a portal. But yeah, pretty phenomenal stuff. But when it's too good to be true, it usually is. Next one, I just found this intriguing. Yeah, especially when they take video or film and they make it look like it's a much older type of picture. You'll get an idea of this. This is leaked video footage from a UFO in the 40s or 50s. I don't know. This looks pretty good, but I don't know, Derrel. Have you ever seen this before?
I haven't. And the interesting thing I saw about it was that the UFO had writings and descriptions and so on all over the outside. I guess anything's possible, but it's not very well reported that markings are on the outside of UFOs, generally speaking.
You said you had a picture back from the 80s, which I think you had shown me at one time or another. Have you seen older pictures or older film or videos that you've thought were pretty genuine?
Well, especially one out of China. One of the first pictures ever taken of a UFO was in China. I think it was 1931 or something, 32. It was extremely old, taken by just a regular, right downtown. Somebody looked up, took a picture, and there it is up in the sky. So that one interested me a great deal because of the age.
Well, when you see something that old with something in the sky, and I've seen pictures, old pictures with things in the sky. Some of them are Photoshopped, some of them are not. But I guess that kind of gives it, if you can determine that it hasn't been Photoshopped or doctored, that gives it some authenticity right then and there.
Yes, absolutely, 100%. 100%.
Unless it's an anomaly, Let me ask you this. We had talked about this on the show in the past. There's been some theory about Dwight Eisenhower working with entities, let's just say non-terrestrial, making a treaty. Had you heard about that? Because I'd read just in the past few years that one of his children came forward and said, yes, this absolutely did happen.
Well, Laura Eisenhower is the one we're talking about. She's his granddaughter, and I know her and I like her and all that. But the bottom line is that she wasn't there and I wasn't there, so I don't know that. Is it possible? It's possible. The story goes on that we signed a big treaty with them. The only thing is I never met an alien that could write or read. I'm sure they can, but I never saw any writing. So that was the thing that kind of stumped me about the whole thing. You can have an agreement, but how do you put it in writing so an alien can enforce it, so to speak? When you
had your experiences with it being abducted, were they communicating telepathically, or how did that work?
It was voice to skull contact, no question about it. And the reason I knew I wasn't hallucinating as a kid is that I heard him talking to someone else in the room, and it was another entity. And I heard it basically hot mic'd him, so to speak, because I was hearing him say, "It's awake," and he's talking about me. He's talking to someone else. Right.
And when you heard them, did they have an otherworldly voice? Did they come to you in your own thoughts? How did they speak perfect English? What was that like?
The interesting thing about the entities, whenever they do a contact with their abduction or contacteeism, they do communicate with you in a language and a tone that you can understand. It's very clear. I don't care if you're Spanish, Chinese, or what it is. You'll hear it in your language. You're going to get it.
Derrel Sims, he's the alien hunter. Derrel, what's next for you on your list of events that you're going to be at?
Well, right now I've been asked to go to the Yukon area this coming spring and to do a Native American conference just for Native Americans only. And I'll be representing the Cherokee, which I'm Cherokee Irish myself. And I'll be up there doing a presentation on implants and physical evidence and Bigfoot and so on. And this is the first time these people apparently have ever spoken to anyone in public.
Well, I've got a trip on my schedule at the end of the year, going to be going to London and Ireland. And I think you've been to both. And maybe I can get with you and get me some haunted sites and places of interest that I might want to check out.
No question about it.
Derrel Sims, thanks for being here. We'll see you again on the show.
Thank you, sir.
All right, we're going to take another commercial break. You know, when Doug's normally here, he has some great bear videos. We're going to continue that tradition when we return from this break. I'll be back in 60 seconds on the Road Beyond podcast.
I'm a first-generation Filipino American. You don't always feel you're a part of the country you live in. It's this weird middle space sometimes that you have to live inside of. But when you meet others that are also living in that space, you'll learn to know that it's its own unique space too.
I think it's just vapor with flavor.
It won't hurt my kid like cigarettes, right?
Vaping is safer than smoking, isn't it?
There's really not even that much nicotine in them, right?
My kid?
My kid
knows it's dangerous.
Get your head out of the cloud. Today, nearly 8,000 kids will start vaping, maybe even yours. Learn about the dangers at talkaboutvaping.org.
Welcome back to the Road Beyond podcast. I'm Todd Duplantis. Good to have you with us. Doug O'Brien, my co-host, will be back next week. He's on an assignment this week. But we've brought you some interesting bear videos over the last couple of weeks. We wanted to do that one more. Now, take a look at this one. I didn't know there was a thing with bears, porches, and Ring doorbells. Take a look right here. Here's just a normal bear walking right up. He's going to go knock over a plant, do some bear things, kind of spread things around. There you go. Knock something else over. Now, the owner of the home must have got an alarm trigger as the bear's about to chew up one of his garden toys. Looks like a Christmas decoration. And take a listen to this. I don't know if we can hear this. What do you do when a bear shows up at your front door? Holler at the bear. Tell him to go away. That'll work. There you go. Bear at the front door. And I guess it really is a thing because we've got another video we're going to show you courtesy of Ring doorbells. There you go. Bear, go away. The next one, here's a couple of bears just out for a stroll on an evening. Who knows? It might have been near Halloween. They show up at the front door and just start ringing the doorbell over and over again. No one answered at this one, but I don't know. I might show up at the door, hand it something to eat, send it along its way. I don't know, but that's a new one. So never knew bears and doorbells were a thing. Now you know. Learned a lot tonight on the Road Beyond podcast, didn't you? We're going to wrap up this week's show. Doug O'Brien will be back in studio. He's been in the Northeast. Apparently he went to the Salem, Massachusetts, and also to New York. Should have got some scary material for us. We'll have him back on next week and talk about some spooky things in next week's show. I'm Todd Duplantis. We'll see you next week on the Road Beyond podcast.